Bert and I come down to the dock around 5 in the morning. Bert went into the woodshed for some kindling, and I went down to the dock to start up the Bluebird 3. Since the beginning of the fuel crisis, we had torn the old Knox Marine make and break one-lunger out of the cockpit and had installed Bert's black Clarion stove in its place. The hot water heater on the side of the stove is the boiler. For a piston, Bert's son Forrest threw in his bicycle pump, and my Aunt Mehitabel contributed the mill wheel off her cake factory since she had converted to crumb power. I just got the stove going when Bert come down on the dock with an armload of wood. "Throw it aboard, Bert." Bert threw it aboard. An hour later, after we got up enough pressure, Bert cast off and the Bluebird steamed out into harbor. That was the Bluebird steaming out into harbor. Since we didn't have as much power with steam as we had with gas, we cut 2 feet off the bottom of the hull and added them onto the sides, so we slipped along on top like a riverboat instead of plowing through like a destroyer. We drew so little water we could go through the shallows and make shortcuts. About when we should have sighted Nun number 2, a fog set in thick. Bert had forgotten to compensate the compass since installing the stove, so we thought we could head for Greasy Frog Light for our bearing, but the Coast Guard had slowed the signal down to once every 2 hours to conserve electricity, and you could go quite far in the wrong direction during the intermission. And even when we got close, we knew we would not be able to see the beam from the 50-watt bulb they had just installed. So we just kept moving and hoped we'd hit land before long. We kept a churning all afternoon, and when it got dark, we figured the sun must have gone down. Then there was a terrible crashing, and we hit the steepest seas I had ever felt. I had never been so badly tossed about in all my days. And the strange thing was, there went no wind at all, not a breath of air. "Keep her churning, Bert." Bert kept her churning through the night. About 4 in the morning, we come up hard on a ledge. That was the Bluebird grinding out on a ledge. "We'll have to wait here for high tide to float us off, Bert," I said. But when the sun come out an hour later, we could see we were perched on a rock in the middle of someone's backyard, all the way up in Day's Mills. We had sailed 10 miles overland on a heavy autumn dew. The rough seas were really rocks and rills. We didn't waste no time gawking. We borrowed a lawn sprinkler, hitched it to the bilge pump, set it up on the bow, got it sprinkling, got enough water under us, and we slid right off that ledge in good style and headed back toward the sea. Just as we were crossing Route 1, it all of a sudden come to us. We were going faster on land than we'd ever gone through the water. So we squared away in the right lane, heading north. "Better slow down, Bert. We're going over the 50-mile-an-hour limit." "But we're burning wood, not gas," Bert replied. "Yes, Bert," I said, "but you can never tell when them Arabs are going to cut off the cedars of Lebanon." Just then we heard a siren. "All right. Where are the plates on this contraption?" "On the paddle wheel, officer, but it's going around too fast for you to see." When he asked me for my driver's license, I showed him a lobster fisherman's permit. That did it, I guess, and he jumped up into a nearby tree and refused to come down. They say he's up there still, trying to conserve energy, I guess.